Hello, hello, and welcome to another day of Let's Do 52. All right, so this week's prompt that I am doing is song, lyrics. You could even do a poem. Like, what sticks with you? What's kind of holding tight? And so I'm reading this book right now, and the book um, the people in it refer, it's like their song, kind of, they've known each other since childhood, right? It goes all the way through adulthood. And their song is Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters by Elton John. And when they first referred to it, because it doesn't come right out and say that, it just says, she's singing about Mad Hatters and Mona Lisa's and how rose trees never grow in New York City. And I was like, oh, what is that? What is that? So I Googled it and I was like, oh my goodness, this is such a wonderful song, like overlooked. So I've been listening to it. I kind of, it's just been playing in my head over and over again. And of course, so the roses, now I know that rose trees never grow in New York City. So I figured I'd throw some roses in there. Um, and the star of this page, if you will, is the Mad Hatter hat, right? I needed a good background for my lyrics. I needed to write my lyrics on something. So I went with the Mad Hatter hat, and I here decided I did draw in pencil first a little sketch out just for sizing. I needed to make sure that the words I wanted to write fit inside of it. I don't know why, but I felt the need to put a little paintbrush in there, and so I'm just going over with my good old-fashioned micron pen because, well, once that dries, the watercolor is not going to, it's permanent, right? The micron is going to stay there. I'm going to have a nice black line. This is done in a pretty freestyle. You see how I go back over. I've got that, um, shaky wiggle, if you will, to my lines. And so I'm kind of just drawing the hat in. I did draw the roses and the other things first so that I could kind of, only have the line for the hat. This is fairly simple. Obviously, a simple sketch, a simple doodle. Um, the white space on the page was just distracting my eye, even though I knew I'd fill it in. For some reason, I decided I was going to draw with the micron. I was going to put swirlies in there just to help break that space. It just is, why we play in our journals and our sketchbooks first, why we experiment. So the paper that I'm working on is just a mixed media, very smooth mixed media paper. There you can see I'm erasing, those white erasers are wonderful. They're less crummy than the pink, crummy as in getting all the little pieces. And I just erased the pencil line now that I have my black line done. And all right, so I choose watercolors because they're fast, they're easy. They're very satisfying to me right now, and this is a perfect way to get less than 30 minutes of journaling in for the challenge. So, Payne's Gray. I love Payne's Gray. I don't like to use black no matter what medium I'm using. Well, I shouldn't say that, and paint. I will typically use Payne's Gray, which tends to be like a blue gray kind of tone, but layered, it can be pretty dark. It can be close to black. And I just needed the hat to be darker because I wanted to write in white pencil. So I got my first layer down, dried that. I needed to make sure that was dry because I didn't want the red, which I use quinacridone rosé or quinacridone rose to do my roses here, and I didn't want that red to bleed into the hat, so I did use the dryer. For the most part, though, you're watching this in real time. It really didn't take very long at all. It's important to me to show you and demonstrate in close to real time. Um, there are moments where I do kind of clip over it because I'm not going to run the dryer. on you guys. It's still, even with drying it, I think the total with me filming and everything was just at 32, 31 minutes, maybe, maybe. So anyways, painting the band in, I decided to do a little bit of that turquoise color. I will play that color back up on the teacup too, just to kind of bounce colors around. I like to keep the eye moving on the page. And again, I'm going to take a moment to stress again how important it is to remember that the reason we're doing this challenge, the reason you're playing in your journals, whether it be once a week or once a day, right? We're hoping to get you to the habit of daily art making. But it's not about perfection. It's about the progress you're making and the experimentation. So in this piece, there's a lot of experimenting going on. Um, it's a play on colors. It is all about different watercolors are going to act differently on different paper, and again, differently depending on what brush you use. So the more you use your watercolors and all the different ones, and the more you experiment on different papers that you have and with different brushes, that's when you're going to find what you like. And it doesn't matter if it's watercolors, it could be your acrylics, it could be gouache, it could be colored pencils, it can be any of it. But until you play on different papers and with different other supplies, you don't know which one you're going to like. So here I'm just grabbing some green and kind of just dabbing in where I have some leaves. And then I'm gonna just pop in the paint. The red paint is still a little bit wet. It's not soaked, it's a little bit wet. And I just dabbed it there with that green because it's its complement. It's going to give me the perfect neutral, and neutral meaning a gray, a dark tone. And so that's going to form the center of my roses, which helps make a blob of color look more like a flower, right? Give it a center. Complementary colors are the best way to get that darker tone that you're looking for. All right, so I just bounced that turquoise back up into the teacup, and my hat is dry, so I'm going to do layer two because even with watercolors, I'm still layering, right? Um, so I'm going to just get that Payne's gray in there, get it nice and deep. Let the watercolor do what the watercolor does, right? It's going to react differently on every piece of paper. But what I have is, you know, a second layer, and it blooms and it flows and leaves some of the white. Let it be um, variegated in tones, if you will. I don't want it flat. Right? I want some depth. That's probably why I do love to use watercolors so much, is just to see how things run together, how they bloom, just go back up there and touch a little bit. I'm okay to be outside the lines, and you'll see that in the final photo. It's not about being all perfect and whatnot in there. And this is just very relaxing working small like this. This is one of my handmade journals. Um, it's a small journal as far as I don't have a ton of pieces of paper in there. I wanted to get the handle of the brush, the paintbrush that I put there, pretty detailed. So I just used a bold marker, and then I needed, again, back to that white space. I wasn't really feeling like I loved it, so let's splash some because I love a splatter. And this just makes it feel more me, but more towards kind of the look I was going for. And so, but I wanted to be pretty disciplined with it. And now I'm happy with the color of my hat. This, I highly recommend, get a chalk pencil. This is actually a Derwent chalk pastel, and I can sharpen it in a pencil sharpener, a regular size pencil sharpener, and that allows me to play and make sure things are going to fit because I'm not that confident. I'm not that confident in my handwriting yet and spacing and whatnot. So when I can very easily use this chalk pastel pencil. You saw with a dry cloth, I just wiped it off, almost like a chalkboard. So in here, I am getting my words, and it basically says, "And I thank the Lord for people like you." I think that's what I wrote. I kind of took a version from the song because I know what it means. Um, and it's my journal. So, yeah. I was trying to decide if I wanted it all in the top half of the hat or if I wanted to bring something down into the brim. That's what I was doing there. Again, why the chalk pencil is so wonderful. All right, so then once I'm done, I can give it a little bit of a brush because I can still see it. I don't want to leave too much of the chalk on there because sometimes your pen, I'm using a fine Posca pen here, will pick up on the chalk and that can bog down your gel pens and paint markers. So if I wipe it lightly, it gets a lot of the dust off, but I can still see what I did. And so I'm just, penciling in here and feeling more confident with my spacing and everything because I've kind of written it first. Pencil works well with this. Um, there are a lot of options, and I do encourage you to use your own handwriting practice. Um, so our handwriting are our letters and kind of how we write every day. But then you have printing, right? Or you're training yourself to write your letters. And there are some great classes out there, that kind of help you learn. They'll teach you how to see a letter more as a shape. The other thing is find a font that you like online or in a Canva or a word processing and print out that alphabet. Print that out and kind of look at those letters. I've done that a little bit. I don't know what I did with the printout though, so I haven't used it. I've just been kind of playing with my letters. There are some letters I struggle with, an M, and I have a decent amount of M's in my name, and we use the letter M a lot, and I struggle with that letter. So I'm going to practice. You know what? Your art journal is a great place to practice the things you want to improve on. So I did go over it because I needed them a little bit bolder. And the thing about that fine line Posca pen is it's not super bright right up front. I am in search of another white gel or paint marker that's awesome again because I'm just not finding it. So I do come in with it and kind of do some squiggles and just help my red blobs look more like roses. Um, Again, it's a pretty simple thing. Just there, of course I did the polka dots. All right, so then I just grabbed more gel pens because they were right there, and the black squiggle lines that I put in there, of course, I'm going to put color over them. And it's just kind of a play on color and filling in the white space without overly filling in the white space, and kind of just loving the page. So I'm totally in the zone right now while I'm working. I'm kind of just like, Amy, just scribble, stop thinking so much, just put some color down, just do the things. Because sometimes, especially I find when I'm filming for you guys or working on different things, I find that I definitely worry about perfection. I worry about what that final picture is going to look like when I share it. And a lot of times things aren't perfect or they're a little wonky because when we're doing prompts, we're all over the place, right? Like sometimes we're working abstract, sometimes I'm working watercolor and doodles. There's a lot of different art we cover. There's not just one thing. Um, and so it doesn't always come out perfect. It doesn't always come out to be something that, I want to print and sell. But it's a practice that I thoroughly enjoy. And typically, I'll hit a point at I'll hit a prompt or something will start my curiosity, and I'll say, "Hey, I'm gonna play with that a lot," and while it might not be this, I feel like I've painted a lot of teacups lately, so maybe I'll do some exploring on teacups and watercolors and perfect my, kinda go on a tangent with that, with teacups, or maybe it's working with gouache. You're journaling, your play and your art journaling, and the process of doing what we're doing is what is so beneficial. It is the practice of this that will make you a better artist, a more confident artist. It will relax you. You'll look forward to that time as soon as you let go of the perfection. Okay, so I played with the a couple of pink gel pens, and then I grabbed my favorite gold gel pen. Kind of just put some lines around the leaves and some more little dots to fill in. It's got a little bit of shimmer to it. Kind of really digging this piece. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down below in the comments how things are going.